And so, when we think about the operational burden that a manager doing this for the first time faces, I think one of the key things we do is that coordinatory role. So we're going to have to establish a good rapport and working relationship with our manager, with our lawyer, with their service providers. I guess whether it's an auditor or if it's an individual within their structure that is the point person for the onboarding and the initiation of this structure. I think our role as that sort of, I suppose, subject matter expert in jurisdiction is critical, right?
Absolutely. We have to be able to get them through the hurdles, and some of the hurdles can be quite straightforward, but quickly so that they're ready. Because, you need to have your entity set up before you can go any further, if that's what you're going to do as a fund. You need your lawyer. That is so crucial. You need your administrator. That is so crucial. And then you need your bank, because without those things, you can't do anything, really. Once you've got those three things, and they're very much on the critical path, but they're not that difficult to achieve. Certainly in the Channel Islands, actually getting the entity established for a new entity can be quite straightforward, which is one of the pros. But once you've got it established, once you've got your bank, you can open your doors to the investors and then in turn start investing that cash and making a return. And that's really the process. We act in a very central role, coordinating with the clients, making sure they understand what they're doing. Bearing in mind that for a lot of the new managers we're dealing with, they don't know any of these things. We have to take them through the basics, so we have to be very, very clear. This is what you need to do, and this is why you need to do it, so that they understand, and then they start doing it. And you can do it badly and you can do it wrong so easily, but if you do it right, it should be a very pain-free process that takes you there quickly.
And even if a manager, for example, first-time manager does know from prior experience in a bigger organization how to launch a fund in one of these jurisdictions, they may have done it with a big engine behind them, right?
Big support team, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, that's a very common thing that we see, that, they've had a team to help them in the past, and now we are that team, essentially.
Internal legal, for example.
Yeah. General counsel, all of those things that simply don't exist. So we're helping advise through those pitfalls from our experience.
Yeah, typically the people at that first-time fund manager that we talk to on a day-to-day basis during the setup phase, I think is the general counsel function, or somehow in-house person who does, apart from the, let's call them the deal guys, right? Later on, when it comes to bringing the investment policy of the fund alive, I think there is much more interaction between the deal team and certainly the portfolio management team on the AIFM side. But I think during that onboarding and the setup, and you mentioned the legal advisors. There are those who are drafting the fund documents, the LPA, the PPM. Those steps are, I think, Michael, you alluded to it, but I think where we've seen one crucial element really for a successful fund setup, onboarding, launch, whatever you want to call it, really is to have that central point person at the clients, because we will give that person a counterpart at our end. We've decided a few years ago to organize a central onboarding team with an Ocorian, which is basically a project management team, right? And they will appoint a project manager who will collect all the input and expertise from the different areas, whether it's on our in-house legal side or whether it is really on the practical side. An example could be, I think it would make sense for the fund accounting experts to really review that part of the LPA that covers things like the carried interest model, right? We've seen them all. We've seen them in very straightforward. We've seen them in excessively complex, and maybe it makes sense to talk to the people who will actually have to transport that then into really an operating model and
make it a reality.
something that works, right? So I think that having that central person to coordinate is really crucial. And then with that tandem on the client side, plus potentially then the legal advisor, I think that's how the puzzle will come together.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. You know, it is a project, so you need to approach it with that discipline. You need project management, you need a written plan, you need to know what you're trying to do, what you're looking to achieve.
Probably like a weekly call.
A weekly call, typically, you know, involving the lawyers, bringing in all the experts that you need as you need them, keeping it all going, keeping everybody honest, just so that you keep the time. And if the more preparation you put into it, the easier the whole experience is.
No, it
if
sounds
you try
simple.
to do it cheap. Yeah,
it does sound simple.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe some people might say, well, that's
obvious.
You know, that's obvious, but
Yeah.
it's amazing how many people, you know, don't run that properly or run that well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the SMEs that we have, subject matter experts, are key to the whole thing.
Absolutely. We've all seen it, sadly, done badly. You know, that's what happens if you don't pay enough attention to it. But putting the right resources onto it, it should be a very easy process.